It was a cold December evening in a small town in England. Snow had started to fall gently, and inside a little house, four sisters were sitting by the fire. Meg, Jo, Beth, and Amy March. Meg was the oldest, 16 years old. She had soft brown hair and big eyes that could light up any room. Jo was next, 15, tall and full of energy. Her long red hair matched her wild spirit. She didn't like being told what to do. Beth was quiet, only 13. She wasn't loud or fast like Jo, but she had a heart full of love. And then there was Amy, the youngest at 12. With golden curls and blue eyes, she liked pretty things, and sometimes she wasn't afraid to say it. That night, they were knitting socks for soldiers who were fighting far away. It was wartime, and their father, Mr. March, was helping in a hospital. Their mother, Mrs. March, whom they lovingly called Marmee, wasn't home either. She had gone to help a poor family nearby. "We're poor," said Meg, looking down at her worn-out dress. "It's not fair." "I know," whispered Amy. "Other girls have so many nice things." "I hate girls' work," said Jo, pulling at the wool. "I wish I could go fight in the war." Beth looked up softly. "But we're lucky too. We have each other." Jo smiled. "Yeah, we really do." Just then, the clock struck 6. "It's time," said Meg. "Marmie'll be back soon. Let's get supper ready." They all jumped into action. Jo brought more wood for the fire. Meg lit the lamps. Beth and Amy set the table. The door opened. In walked Marmee, not the most beautiful woman you'd ever see, but full of kindness. "How are my dears?" she asked. "We're fine, Marmee," they all said together. "Come sit by the fire," said Marmee. "Supper's ready." After dinner, Marmee had something special to say. "I've got a surprise," she said, smiling. Everyone leaned in. "A letter?" asked Jo. "Yes," said Marmee, "from your father." The room lit up. They passed the letter around, reading every word like it was gold. And for a moment, even though they were poor and their father was far away, they felt rich with love. A few days later, it was Christmas morning. Snow had fallen thick during the night, and the world outside was white and still. Inside the March house, the girls woke early. Each one had found a present on the table, a book from their mother. They rushed downstairs, excited to thank her, but Marmee wasn't there. Instead, a special Christmas breakfast was laid out on the table. There was bread, milk, jam, and even some cakes. They waited nearly an hour for Marmee before she finally came home. "Merry Christmas, Marmee," they all shouted. "Come sit down," she said. "Let's eat." After breakfast, Marmee had something to say. "There's a poor woman in our town," she said. "Her name is Mrs. Hummel. She has 7 children and one is just a baby. Their house is cold, and they have no food. Will you give them your breakfast?" For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Jo said, "Yes, let's take the food to them now." It was early morning and very cold, but the girls carried baskets of food and wood through the snow. Mrs. Hummel lived in a small room near the river. The windows were broken and the fire was out. She was ill in bed. The baby was crying, and the children were cold and hungry. When they saw the March sisters, they shouted, "Thank you! Thank you!" The girls made a fire, put the food on the table, and made tea. Soon the room was warm and the children were laughing. Later they went home and had bread and milk for breakfast, but they were very happy. That evening, the girls acted in a play they had written themselves. All their friends came, and everyone enjoyed it. Later that night, Marmee called them downstairs. "Supper is ready," she said. The girls ran down and saw sweets, fruit, and ice cream on the table. "Where did this come from, Marmee?" asked Amy. "Old Mr. Lawrence sent it," said Marmee. "Mr. Lawrence, our neighbor?" asked Meg. "He heard about your breakfast," said Marmee. "He sent you a special Christmas supper." Beth smiled. "This is a wonderful Christmas." A few days later, it was Christmas morning. Snow had fallen thick during the night, and the world outside was white and still. Inside the March house, the girls woke early. Each one had found a present on the table, a book from their mother. They rushed downstairs, excited to thank her, but Marmee wasn't there. Instead, a special Christmas breakfast was laid out on the table. There was bread, milk, jam, and even some cakes. They waited nearly an hour for Marmee before she finally came home. "Merry Christmas, Marmee!" they all shouted. "Come sit down," she said. "Let's eat." After breakfast, Marmee had something to say. "There's a poor woman in our town," she said. "Her name is Mrs. Hummel. She has 7 children and one is just a baby. Their house is cold, and they have no food. Will you give them your breakfast?" For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Joe said, "Yes, let's take the food to them now." It was early morning and very cold, but the girls carried baskets of food and wood through the snow. Mrs. Hummel lived in a small room near the river. The windows were broken and the fire was out. She was ill in bed. The baby was crying, and the children were cold and hungry. When they saw the March sisters, they shouted, "Thank you! Thank you!" The girls made a fire, put the food on the table, and made tea. Soon the room was warm and the children were laughing. Later they went home and had bread and milk for breakfast, but they were very happy. That evening, the girls acted in a play they had written themselves. All their friends came, and everyone enjoyed it. Later that night, Marmee called them downstairs. "Supper is ready," she said. The girls ran down and saw sweets, fruit, and ice cream on the table. "Where did this come from, Marmee?" asked Amy. "Old Mr. Lawrence sent it," said Marmee. "Mr. Lawrence, our neighbor?" asked Meg. "He heard about your breakfast," said Marmee. "He sent you a special Christmas supper." Beth smiled. "This is a wonderful Christmas." Joe told stories about her family. Laurie talked about his life. He didn't go to school. A teacher named Mr. Brooke came to the house every day. "Come into our library," said Laurie. "We have many fine books." The library was a beautiful room with big windows and hundreds of books on the shelves. Suddenly, they heard a noise. "My grandfather has come home," said Laurie. "I must go to him. Please stay here." Joe stayed in the library, standing by the fire. There was a picture of Mr. Lawrence on the wall. Joe looked at it. The door opened. "I knew your grandfather," said Joe without turning. "He was a good man." "Thank you," said a voice. Joe turned around quickly. Mr. Lawrence was standing near the door. "Oh," she said, "I'm sorry." "So I'm not handsome?" he asked. "Well, no, sir," said Joe. "But you have a kind face." Mr. Lawrence laughed. "Yes, you do." He poured some tea and Joe and Laurie drank it together. Mr. Lawrence watched them. "My grandson is happy," he thought. "He was lonely. He needs friends." Later, Joe went home and told her mother and sisters about the beautiful house. "Marmee, please let Laurie visit us," she said. "Yes, dear," said Miss March. "Your new friend Laurie will be welcome in our house." Laurie and the March sisters became good friends. They visited each other often and had many happy days together. Everybody liked Laurie. Meg loved flowers and gardens. She liked the garden at the Lawrence house. Joe wrote plays and stories and loved the library. Amy liked painting and enjoyed the paintings on the walls, but Beth never visited the Lawrence house. She was shy. She was afraid of Mr. Lawrence. Beth didn't go to school. She learned at home. She helped her mother with the housework and loved music. The Marches had a piano, but it was very old. One day, Mr. Lawrence spoke to Mrs. March. "Do your daughters play the piano?" he asked. "Beth plays," said Miss March. "I have a beautiful piano," said Mr. Lawrence, "but nobody plays it now. Will Beth come to my house? Will she play the piano?" "She is very shy," said Miss March. "Laurie and I are often out," said Mr. Lawrence. "She can come when we're not there." Beth was very happy when she heard the news. The next day, she went to the Lawrence house. It was very quiet. The piano was in the living room. Beth touched it gently. "How beautiful it is," she thought. Some pages of music were lying on top. The music wasn't difficult, so Beth started to play. She played for hours and enjoyed herself. After that, she went every day. Sometimes Mr. Lawrence was in the house. He often listened to the music, but Beth never saw him. A few weeks passed. One day, Beth spoke to her mother. "I want to thank Mr. Lawrence," she said. "I'll knit him a pair of slippers." "That's a good idea," said Miss March. Beth bought some wool and made a beautiful pair of slippers. She left them on the table with a note. The next morning, Beth walked by the river, feeling sad. Mr. Lawrence hadn't replied. When she got home, her sisters were waiting. "Beth, come quickly," they called. "You have a present." They led her into the living room. In the middle of the room was a beautiful little piano. On top of it was an envelope. "Open it," said Joe. Joe opened the envelope and read the note aloud. Mr. Lawrence had given Beth the piano. "I'm very lucky," said Beth. She sat down and began to play. The sound was beautiful. But suddenly she stopped. "I must thank Mr. Lawrence now," she said. She ran to the Lawrence house. Mr. Lawrence was in the library. Beth ran to him and kissed him. "Dear Mr. Lawrence," she said, "thank you so much for my beautiful piano." Beth was not afraid of Mr. Lawrence anymore. It was Saturday afternoon. Meg and Joe were getting ready to go out. They were putting on their coats when Amy came into the room. "Where are you going?" she asked. "Don't ask questions," said Joe. "We're going to the theater with Laurie," said Meg. "Oh," said Amy, "I want to come too, please." "No," said Joe firmly, "you're too young." "I'm not too young," cried Amy. "I'm 12 years old. Please let me come." Joe got angry very quickly. "No, Amy," she said, "we won't take you. Please go away." Amy started to cry. Just then, Laurie arrived at the house. "Meg, Joe, are you ready?" he shouted. "We're coming," replied Joe. She and Meg ran downstairs. Amy stopped crying. "You'll be sorry, Joe March," she whispered. Joe and Meg had a wonderful time at the theater. They returned home late that evening. Amy was reading a book and didn't ask them about the play. The next morning, Meg, Beth, and Amy were sitting by the fire. Suddenly, Joe ran into the room. She looked upset. "Where is my storybook?" she asked her sisters. "Have you seen it?" Meg shook her head. "No." Beth said, "No, I haven't seen it either." Amy stayed quiet. Joe turned to her. "Amy, where is it?" "I don't know," Amy replied. "Yes, you do," said Joe. "Tell me now." Amy looked down. "I burnt it," she said quietly. "What?" shouted Joe. "You wouldn't let me come with you yesterday," Amy explained, "so I threw your storybook into the fire." Joe was furious. "You bad, bad girl," she shouted. I wrote those stories for Father, she said. Now they're gone forever. Amy started to cry. Please forgive me, Joe, she said. I'm so sorry. Tears fell from her eyes. I'll never forgive you, said Joe coldly. And with that, she walked away. It was a warm July day, and Meg had just come back from a party at her friend's house. She looked beautiful in her dress, but something was bothering her. Two women had been talking about her. She's kind, said one, but poor. And lives near the Lawrence house, said the other. Do the Marches plan to marry off their daughters for money? Meg couldn't stop thinking about it. She went to Marmee. Marmee, she asked, do you have marriage plans for us? Mrs. March looked surprised. My dear, she said gently, love is more important than money. Don't marry for riches, marry for love. Meg smiled. I'll remember that. The next day, there was a picnic by the river. Laurie invited his friends, and Mr. Brooke, his tutor, came too. Everyone had fun, played games, and ate together. But later that night, Meg realized she'd lost one of her gloves. Joe teased her. Did you lose it at the picnic? She asked. I don't know, Meg replied. Later, Laurie told Joe the truth. Your sister's glove is in John Brooke's pocket, he said. He keeps looking at it every day. Joe's face dropped. No, she cried, that's terrible. But deep down, she knew maybe it wasn't so bad after all. Winter came again. One rainy afternoon, the girls were sitting by the fire. Suddenly, Laurie rushed in, holding a telegram. It's from Washington, he said, for your mother. Mrs. March opened it quickly. Her face turned pale. I must go to Washington, she said, tomorrow morning. Joe ran to send a reply. Meg and Beth began packing. But there was a problem. The train ticket would cost most of their money. Where would they get food? Just then there was a knock at the door. Old Mr. Lawrence and Mr. Brooke had arrived. We heard the news, said Mayor Lawrence. John will go with you, Miss March. Mr. Brooke nodded. Don't worry, I'll take care of her. That night, Joe came home late, with some money on the table. Where did you get this? Asked Marmee. Joe looked down. I sold my hair, she whispered. Mrs. March hugged her tightly. My brave girl, she said, tears in her eyes. The next morning, Mrs. March left, with Mr. Brooke by her side. And the March sisters watched her go. While their mother was away, the sisters worked hard and wrote letters every day. But Beth didn't forget her duties. She visited the Hummel family, even when the others wouldn't. One day, she returned quiet and pale. She held a bottle of medicine. The baby died, she whispered. Dr. Bangs came later. He looked at Beth. Scarlet fever, he said. She needs rest and care. Meg and Joe promised to look after her. Amy was sent to stay with Aunt March. Days passed. Beth got worse. One night, Joe thought she was gone forever. She cried into Meg's arms. Then Dr. Bangs came in. He checked Beth's pulse. No, he said with a smile, she's going to be okay. The girls hugged each other, crying with joy. And just before dawn, they heard a carriage outside. Their mother had come home. Beth was still very weak. Dr. Bangs said she needed time to recover. Meanwhile, a letter came from Mr. Brooke. Good news, said Miss March, your father is getting better. But that same day, another letter brought sadness. Mr. March had fallen ill again. We mustn't tell Marmee, said Meg. She needs to take care of Father. But later that week, Laurie came running. "Grandfather and I sent a telegram," he said. "We told your mother about Beth." That night, Joe waited anxiously by the window. Snow fell silently. At last, she saw lights. A carriage arrived. Dr. Bangs came first. Then, a moment later, their mother walked in. Beth stirred. She opened her eyes. "Marmee," she whispered. And with that, she fell asleep, safe in her mother's arms. Amy was unhappy at Aunt March's house. Every evening, she had to read boring books. But one night Aunt March said, "Your mother has written. She'll come tomorrow." Amy was overjoyed. Soon the sisters were all together again. Beth grew stronger every day. Then came a letter from Washington. "Mr. Brooke is bringing Father home," said Mrs. March. Christmas was near. The girls baked, wrapped presents, and decorated the house. On Christmas Eve, Laurie and Mr. Lawrence came to visit. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Laurie opened it. Behind him stood a tall man. Silence. Then 4 voices shouted as one, "Father!" They ran to him, hugging and crying. Amy laughed through her tears. "This is the best Christmas present ever." Later, Mr. Brooke entered quietly. Meg ran to him. "Thank you," she said. "You brought him home." That night, the whole family sat by the fire. Mr. March looked around. "My dears," he said softly, "this year has been hard, but now I see 4 fine women." Spring came again. Mr. March and Beth grew stronger. Laurie and Mr. Lawrence often visited. But Mr. Brooke hadn't come in weeks. Meg missed him. One afternoon, Joe found an umbrella by the door. "Whose is this?" she asked. Meg smiled. "That's John's," she said. "He forgot it on Christmas Day." Joe grinned. "Oh no, you do like him, don't you?" Meg blushed. "I'm not ready to marry," she said. "But yes, I do love him." Joe hugged her sister. "I'm happy for you," she said. That night, the March family sat together once more. By the fire. Laughing. Talking. Happy. And together.